Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Doug again.
And I'm Uncle Dan again.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
And that's the truth. Well, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
It's just the two of us once again this week, as Uncle Mark is apparently dead.
It's slowly being replaced by Uncle Doug. Every day, more and more.
He should watch out. You're gunning for him now.
I've always been gunning for him.
Yeah. Uncle Mark is unfortunately deadly tied up.
Yeah.
By his current by the job that actually pays the bills.
That's right.
Maybe if we get enough patrons, we can keep him.
Now, who wants that back? Don't donate to the show.
Stop it.
Uncle Mark will never come back.
Stop it. Stop it, Doug. You're killing us. So today's a fun show.
Yeah.
You know who's today's show is sponsored by?
Satan?
We're getting this. It's a satanic damn show today.
Father of ties.
That's right.
Lies.
I'm the father of something. Yeah, the Lord of the Flies. I am going to be telling us first a little bit about his self, and then you are going to take us not to Satan.
I'm going to talk about a religion. We're going to meet some people whose religion is entirely made up.
Unlike all the other religions.
Exactly.
Yeah, like literally, of course, all of the religions are made up, but this one's
really made up.
Really, really, really made up. And then we're gonna discuss a how-to. We're gonna help people with their all their devil problems.
We're going to help you get rid of Satan without any holy water or priests.
Yeah, you don't need to pray. You don't need to do any incantations.
And no exercise, I promise.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that sounds good. Let's do that show.
Let's do it. Uncle Dan.
Yeah, Uncle Doug.
Well, on this show we have talked about many strange and different traditions.
Yeah.
People, places, things, and vegetables.
Yeah.
And
those don't count as things.
Vegetables don't count as things?
No. Well, I mean, you separated them out. I'm just trying to back you up here.
Minerals.
Sure.
Yeah. And you have a particularly popular...
Well, speaking of vegetables, I'm going to go to a garden. We sometimes have a graveyard of the gods for them has been dead for a while.
Yeah.
But there are some gods and your lesser demons and whatever that are still around. That people still have lots of good belief in.
They just won't die.
That will not die. And I'm gonna pluck somebody from there. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Well, do tell.
Could it be Satan? And that's
when the organ sound hits.
Yep. And those of us who are our age will remember that. Oh my God, we're fucking old. That's a shout out to you. Who was that?
Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
Dana Carvey, church lady. All right. I'm sure Dana Carvey listens to the show, right?
He's most definitely. He's a patron.
Yes. I'm talking about the devil. Now, you and I we're actually going to go in depth on this devil guy, but I thought I'd give us some history of this cat.
Yeah.
Because there are all manner of lesser demons and whatnot, but the devil himself...
He's the OG.
He's red and scaly and carries a hay fork with a
bifurcated
tail. There we go. The Bible definitely talks about the devil and calls him by many different names, including Lucifer, which some scholars claim is not a name but more of a description.
Isn't it son of the morning or something like that?
Yeah, or morning star is what Lucifer means when you break it down. So that could be the biblical devil's name, but also known as Beelzebub and Mephistopheles and the prince of darkness and the Antichrist and the father of lies and so on. Or just, your friendly neighborhood Satan.
The devil.
The devil. He's one of the first characters we meet in the Holy Book.
Right.
In the form of a serpent. Now, actually, that's a matter of interpretation because it never says that serpent is Satan.
Really?
It just says a serpent.
All right.
Everybody assumes that it's Satan because he's doing naughty stuff and talking people into bad things. But my understanding is that is just, if you just read the Bible, it just says a serpent.
A serpent. Because we get God who creates everything, Adam who names everything, Eve who fucks it all up.
By like doing the only thing a human would do.
Eating an apple?
Well, eating a fruit.
A fruit.
That is the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
Like, that's just how we work.
And you're right, it just says a serpent. But then it says a serpent, but then after the fall, doesn't God curse the serpent to crawl upon its belly for the rest of its life?
Yeah.
Which would be like, okay.
Which is a snake. That's how snakes work. It's not, however, how the devil works. So there's another reason to believe that maybe the snake was under the devil's influence. Now, other religions have all sorts of ideas about a similar thing. Judaism, strangely, is much less into the whole, like, there is a dude named the devil, or there's an entity that is the devil, and much more into demons. And they have a whole list of various demons that come at you, and they make new ones up all the time. The golem or what,
Right.
But like, they talk about all. If you look at the Old Testament in Hebrew, which
I do,
which
often.
you and I,
yeah.
we like to read in the originals,
Of
in
course.
the original text, but other people might not.
In the original vinyl.
Yeah, it's so much more pure, you guys. You can really hear
It's rich and
yeah.
yeah.
You can really hear the demons good in that. There are some interesting demons in Judaic tradition.
And are these in the Old Testament, or are they throughout?
Some of them are some of them are specifically in the Old Testament. Some of them have just sort of popped up, like they do.
Yeah.
You got Se'irim, which translates somehow to hairy demons or satyrs.
Okay.
So those are fun. Those are interesting guys. They haunt ruins, and also Lilith, who there's a whole subsection of people who have these other stories about Lilith, but in the Bible, in Isaiah, Lilith is like sort of a succubus who was living sort of in conjunction with mortals, but she was evil or whatever. There's a whole Lilith thing, but
there's a fair about it. They have a whole thing.
They have a fair, yeah. I mean, if you're into Melissa Etheridge,
and who isn't,
just know she might be a succubus. A whole bunch of things. Azazel is a demon. They have all these things. Now, here's what I learned. Proverbs 30, verse 15, talks about, now in the original Hebrew, you get the aluka, which, and it's and what the scripture says is the aluka hath two daughters, crying, give, give. Now, Hebrew, the word aluka simply means leech, and is often translated to either leech or, in some translations, horse leech.
All right.
But basically, it's a vampire. I don't know if you knew this.
I did not.
There's a vampire. There are vampires in the Bible, and that's for real, honest to God. Like most scholars who have studied that word, there's an equivalent word in Arabic, aluk or aulak, I think, which is the name of a vampire. So this is, when you actually look at it, it basically translates to bloodlusting monster.
I'm not surprised.
No. I mean, the Bible also... What's great is when you confront Christians with, right. Do you believe in unicorns? How about giants? How about vampires?
Right.
All of them are in the Bible.
Yeah.
They're all... I mean, the unicorns and the giants are like just there.
There's not like it's not a translation.
It's not, yeah, it's not like, it says leech, but you have to know that word, aluka, meant... No, those are just in there.
Yep.
So those are always...
So what did the daughters want when they said, Dad, give? I mean, it's the Bible, so I think I know.
Yeah, it's like...
It's probably the vitamin D.
Yeah, right. It's hemoglobin is what they're after, apparently. I mean, this is preceded by... I'll actually go back a few verses. It's preceded by... it's just talking about all of these bad entities. And it talks about those, this is verse 14, starting with verse 14, those whose teeth are swords and whose jaws are set with knives to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind.
It's a Giuliani.
I think you did it. I think you figured it out. He is an Aluka.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Hashtag Aluka.
Hashtag Giuliani is an Aluka. So the devil has many names. In other in like, for instance, Islam, the devil is known as Shaitan. That sounds like Satan, only you're drunk. And then, Buddhism has a demon who tempted the Buddha and tried to lure him away from his enlightenment, sort of thing, from the righteous path to his nirvana. And he defeated Mara, not you, Mom. My mom's name is Mara. But maybe. Mara. And so he defeated the devil and resisted temptation and was able to get his enlightenment. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
Little dance with the devil. Our Jesus did that. So here's the thing. Until Dante came along,
right, there
really wasn't any image of the devil that was sort of hell wasn't clear, except that it was just everlasting fire.
Right. So the winged and horned and hooved visage of Jesus, or Jesus,
him too,
of Satan is a new addition. More or less.
I mean, it comes along in the early 14th century with Dante Alighieri and his Divine Comedy,
right? Which
is where he writes this book.
I can think of two things wrong with that title.
Right. Okay. Neither of them are so his idea was that when Satan was cast out of heaven, he was thrown to earth so hard that it made this giant hole. Oh. And that's where hell is. And there are all these different layers of hell, these different circles of hell.
So it's the bottom of a crater.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And the place where the devil lives, and he describes the devil as having 3 faces that are all eating people just to torture them.
Ooh.
We've talked about the fact that heaven, if you just play it out, any description of heaven for eternity is hell.
Right.
But here's the thing. To my mind, any description of hell, I don't care what it is, describe hell, whatever it is, after about 1,000 years, it's going to get a little blasé.
Yeah.
The torture's not working on me anymore.
Right.
It was awful.
It's like spicy food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to
you know what? Oh, you're going to crack my bones again. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, one of Satan's faces is eating me again.
Oh, I'm getting that. Yep. Okay. Oh, fire? Really? We're doing fire now? Okay. Oh, look, ice. Wow, you really changed it up there. What do we have, nerve endings anymore?
Exactly.
I don't know.
But I agree. Sitting at a buffet with my family for forever and ever is I would send me to hell.
Right.
Crack my bones, burn me up.
Maybe that is your hell. See what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So This guy, after Dante came along, people started representing his Divine Comedy in paintings and whatnot, and then it started to be the guy. He became red if he was, and sometimes he had horns, and sometimes he had a tail, and sometimes he had a trident or whatever. He had wings sometimes, but really, a lot of it is just. A lot of the imagery or a lot of the lore of Satan from the Bible is an angel who fell, or he's like an okay guy. Yeah, and you and I know that the Mormon version of Satan, is our brother.
Yeah, he was the brother of Jesus, and a favored son of God.
Right. There were two favorites.
Yep.
Jesus and
Lucifer.
And
Lucifer at the time.
And they were both given the task of coming up with their plan for humanity once Earth was finished.
Yeah.
Once he made Earth, and Satan came up with clearly the correct plan.
100%.
There is no doubt.
Yeah.
Lucifer had the right plan.
I know. I even thought that when I was a young Mormon. I'm like, this seems strange to me.
And Jesus came up with the worst plan ever, and God was like, sold. Yeah. And got pissed at Satan and kicked him out, and the third of the spirit children that believed him.
And just as a quick tangent, the third of the people who went with him are now Satan's angels or the devil's angels, and the people who sat out that little war in heaven are the black people.
Right, the ones who were a little less valiant.
There's lots of ways to become a black person in Mormon theology, but none of them are good.
No. So yeah, I mean. And we should explain what these plans were, because I just brought it up.
Sure.
So do you want to say what Satan's plan was?
Somehow we had to get all of God's children through an earthly experience to get a body and then back to heaven. Right. Satan was like, I got it. I bring them down. I make sure all of them believe. They all get bodies. They all come back. Bada bing. And Jesus was like, nope. They've got to be tempted and suffer, and some giant percentage aren't going to get back here.
Right.
We don't tell them the truth. We hide the truth, worst possible plan you can think of.
Right. We make sure that they're flawed,
yes,
and ignorant. Completely ignorant beings.
Yeah.
And then if they fuck up, fuck them forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And if they happen to be born not in Utah or Salt Lake County,
right, in
the late 1900s, they're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. It's an amazing idea that Satan's plan of okay, why don't we just treat them all nice?
Yeah.
Get them all through the test or through the whatever. Let's not even test anybody.
Right.
Let's just assume we're all God's children.
You get a body and you get a body.
It's the Oprah style
right, totally.
of doing it, and it's obviously correct.
Obviously.
Except it's obvious to everyone but God. Anyway, so in all of these stories, the devil becomes the enemy of God, who's good. Now, we get to some of the wonderful ways in which this has affected people throughout history.
Yeah.
Including, I don't know, the Salem witch trials and all of this stuff. Because here's the thing. People believed in magic.
Right.
And there's the good magic of God where, you can part a sea or you can... But all of that kind of stopped.
Right.
Back before anyone can remember, God stopped doing good miracles.
Right.
Nobody can point to a good... grandma got better from her cancer.
Or you might find your car keys.
But never anything obviously miraculous. Back in the Bible, happened all the time.
All the time.
But now, never.
Right.
But Satan's going strong. Yeah. So, possession by demons, that's all Satan derived. And yeah, Satan's the one that gave power to the witches. So, when you if you saw a woman dancing alone, she probably is a witch.
You might remember that not many years ago, when we were before the Iraq War, when our forces were in Somalia, the famous Black Hawk Down incident.
Mm-hmm.
There was a general who's I don't know if he was a general at the time, but his name was Richard Boykin.
What a great name!
Right,
Dick Boykin.
He went on to kind of have an evangelical career where he would go preach to audiences in his uniform, which he was constantly lambasted for, but kept doing it.
Right.
He took a picture, to him, I guess we call it a famous picture, from a helicopter over Mogadishu during that particular moment in time. And he says in there's a smudge that he claims is the devil flying over Mogadishu. And it's clearly photoshopped in because it's got little wings and everything like that. But I mean, this is not to your point. This belief in in demons and the devil is still with us, and this is
it's potent.
It's yes.
And matter of fact, on my other show on Thank God I'm Atheist, we're constantly playing like clips of Jim Bakker and Pat Robertson talking about these demons that get into you,
right?
And they fuck with your brain.
And just buy a shake and you'll be fine.
Right, yeah. Get a bucket of food and all will be well. It's kind of amazing. So, that's our guy or guys, and they're, other...
That's interesting. I know there are some, and we've talked about it on the show, but it's almost all dudes. All Satan traditions are evil ones or demons. Almost all. I mean, we talked about a succubus,
right?
But it's as are all things in the Bible and the Quran, etc. It's a man-dominated business.
It's interesting because you think about like how the Bible demonizes women.
That's right.
And it absolutely demonizes them, but doesn't actually make the demons themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Chicks. In part because, we can't give them power.
Right.
We can't talk about them like they have their own power.
They just have to be vessels.
They're just, they are empty, walking around pots that you can shoot a baby into.
Just baby makers, which was a prevailing belief in Ireland until yesterday.
Congratulations, Ireland.
Way to go.
Did they pass it?
Overwhelmingly.
Oh, good.
2-1.
Good.
Yeah.
You can kill your babies now. Thank God.
I, for one, think there's too many Irish people in the world.
Yes.
So I was for it.
I think we need to abort all the Irish babies.
No, we're going to edit that out.
No, not at all. The American ones. Those are the ones. We can keep some Irish. So anyway, there are polytheistic ideas. Usually there's no devil in a polytheistic tradition, but there's usually one or two gods that are particularly malevolent. So
your Hades and your Neptunes and
your various and sundries.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they do. But I mean, you got to love the polytheists because most of their gods aren't good or bad. They're like good today and fuck you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you never know what they're going to do.
They're very, what would you call it? Human.
They were created in our image. Right. It is true.
Yeah, your harvest failed because a god out there doesn't like you.
Right.
And there's a way out of that.
And another guy's harvest was great.
Right.
And that is because he kneeled down before the right
burnt
god.
A particular animal or sacrificed a particular virgin.
Right, exactly. So there you go. We're going to talk more about personal experiences of the devil a little later on, but I just wanted to give us some background on who that cat isn't, because he's not anything, because there is no devil.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Alrighty. Hey, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
You're going to learn us some learning. This is a are we digging up a god? No, this is a meet the.
We're going to meet some people today.
Okay.
And it almost could qualify as a graveyard of the gods, because this god is made up, unlike all the other gods we've talked about.
Right. All the gods are real, but not this one.
But these gods are made up recently, and as we'll get to, there are some people living in their parents' basements who adhere to these gods.
Yeah, this is more of a meet the.
This is a meet the.
We're going to meet a bunch, a religious group.
A religious group. And this actually occurred to me when Uncle Mark, the late great Uncle Mark, talked about an ancient dead god called Gok Tengri.
Yeah, I remember
in episode
that.
33, and actually joked about him not being the Klingon god. So I thought to myself, hold my banana beer, which is a callback to episode 31.
Boom, baby!
I got a lot of callbacks. This is a Meet the Klingons.
Okay, now my understanding is that Klingons are a fake race of people from a television program.
Well, to be fair, from many television programs.
Sure. They are an alien species from different planet.
From a different planet and a different time. We don't. I'm not going to go very deep into this rabbit hole because I guess you could call me a Trekkie. I like Star Trek, but
I don't think that makes you a Trekkie.
I don't think a Trekkie would call me a Trekkie.
No.
Like, I've seen most of the episodes of The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid and there was nothing else to watch.
I liked Next Generation.
Me too.
I can't do much of the original series.
That or the Voyager or the Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I don't have the energy for any of this stuff.
Me too.
Really.
But
I've enjoyed a Trek or two.
Yes. And the movies are delightful. Mm-hmm. I hope we haven't alienated too many of your listeners at this point.
Yeah, well, I think Trek people, Trekkers, Trekkies, I think they know what they did. I don't think
they know.
You guys know what's up.
So when Mark said that, I thought, it'd be fun to do is actually see if there is a Klingon. I knew it at the time. Obviously, there's a Klingon religion.
Obviously.
Like, all right, let's see what this is all about. And and having researched various strange and different cults for the purposes of this show, this was actually a lot of fun because all of this shit is made up, right? All religions are made up. But they're made up by people we've never met, and they've made up by over hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And
it's improved upon, and it's honed and refined, over time.
And in most cases, these religions have caused suffering and death, and it was a lot of fun to actually look at a religion that was like, okay, this is entirely made up. Probably nobody's died because of this religion. Some people have probably died alone because of this religion. Sorry, guys.
This is why they have it. They go to the conventions. They meet each other.
That's right.
They can speak the language,
which we'll get to.
Oh my god!
So the Klingon religion, the origin story is of a Klingon named. And I'm gonna murder this, I'm sure. So please don't write in.
Just to do a lot of.
If you are going to write in and complain about my pronunciation, it's Mark. How to Heretic. So the origin story, the first Klingon named Kortar, and his mate were created in a place called Klutu. They became strong, joined forces, and destroyed the gods who made them and turned the heavens into rubble and ash.
They destroyed the gods who made them?
Yes.
Nice.
Which is a great origin story.
That is a good origin story.
So this Klingon...
I feel like we're almost to that point, not with us and our gods, but with AI and we being their gods. I feel like that'll happen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. That'll be a good time.
Hopefully I'll be dead. Skynet. I, for one, welcome our new AI overlords.
Yeah.
So in Klingon wedding ceremonies, the following passage is read out loud. With fire and steel did the gods forge the Klingon heart. So fiercely did it beat, so loud was the sound that the gods cried out, "On this day we have brought forth the strongest heart in all the heavens. None can stand before it without trembling at its strength." But then the Klingon heart weakened. Its steady rhythm faltered, and the gods said, "Why do you weaken so? We have made you the strongest in all the creation." And the heart said, "I am alone." And the gods knew that they had erred, so they went back to their forge and brought forth another heart. But the second heart beat stronger than the first.
Ooh.
And the first was jealous of its power. Fortunately, the second heart was tempered by wisdom, and said, "If we join together, no force can stop us." And when the two hearts began to beat together, they filled the heavens with a terrible sound. For the first time, the gods knew fear. They tried to flee, but it was too late. The Klingon hearts destroyed the gods who created them and turned the heavens to ashes. To this very day, no one can oppose the beating of two Klingon hearts.
So I guess the moral of the story for us is we can create AI, just not AH. It's the hearts.
Oh,
the hearts are the dangerous thing.
That was cute.
See what I did there?
I see it.
What I did there?
I see it. The actual Klingon faith is most similar to the Viking culture of Earth.
Oh, sure.
Klingons follow the way of the warrior. It's a belief system developed by Kales, the Unforgettable, which is a name I had to write down.
Yeah.
They value honor above all else. If they die with a purpose, they're said to join Kales, who is has been the first Klingon emperor and a messianic figure in the way of the warrior in the Black Fleet of Stovokar, a paradise where battle and feasting can eternally be shared in one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not?
And so this was made up for a TV show. I'm going to reiterate all of the things that you've said so far are background for a TV show.
For a television show. And as I was doing, the research for this, research in quotes, all of the episodes were cited. I'm like, I could just make Dan crazy. He's like you knew in episode 25 of Voyager. Well, I'm like, nah.
When Lieutenant Worf brought out his bat left.
It's funny because in the original series, the Klingons barely appeared. In Deep Space...
And they were just like black dudes.
Yeah. Totally. In The Next Generation, Worf and his culture made some, and then in the Voyager and Deep Space Nine is where all these citations come from. Because that's where they got, I guess they decided they needed to backfill.
Okay.
So they have scriptures, a series of scrolls called Pak Bothel, or the Book of Honor. They have a coming messianic figure called Kuva Mag.
Oh. Who is prophesied?
Will come. Yeah.
Okay.
They have an afterlife called Grith Thor, where the dishonored go to suffer if they didn't die well in battle. It's the equivalent of hell.
Oh.
And then they're
so like if you don't die. So okay, that's only if you die in battle but not well.
If you die in battle and you're fighting for a just cause,
right?
You go to I won't go back and read it, but the Klingon heaven,
right?
Which is battle and feasting forever.
Hurrah!
Which sounds actually kind of great. I like a good battle and feast.
Sure.
And if you're bad, you go to a Klingon hell where you are kind of in a purgatory state, but your relatives can go on a quest of honor.
Oh.
And kind of buy your way out of that and get you up to heaven.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So like if you die in battle, you're good. If you die like cooking a souffle,
as Klingons are wont to do,
you have to go to hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Klingons would rather die in battle.
All the gay Klingons are just like, oh my God, leave me alone. So there are humans alive now
who are adherents to this faith,
who have
that are members of a clergy. There is a Klingon clergy that has membership that administers the Klingon religion on the Earth.
Yeah,
300 years before we meet the Klingons.
You so damn well know that this is a genuine like 501c3
most definitely
religious organization, and they can marry people in the language.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely.
And they stage a fake fight at all of these religions or on all of these weddings
with that stupid that slanted knife that Worf had on his wall,
half moon sword thing,
and these Ponzi guys just kind of half-ass go at each other.
Kink, kink, kink.
Now, honestly, Uncle Dan, does this religion seem any more credible or less made up than any we've talked about?
Let me tell you something. It is what we've talked about. These are all the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't like yes, okay. So they got crinkly foreheads. That's their new game. But they're not bringing anything new to the table. I mean, the origin story is kind of cool. Like
it is kind of cool.
Killing the gods that made you.
Yeah,
that's pretty fun.
I like that.
I'm into that. But the rest of it,
you could squint and you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, although and probably like if you listened to a Hebrew or an Arab prayer, like to an American ear, I'm guessing it doesn't sound far off from Klingon.
If just a little angrier.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd put a little button on this by teaching you just a smidgen of Klingon.
Oh, I hope you will.
So the word hello is nuchne. The word goodbye is jachmeh.
You are so going to get emails.
Though, thank you is nuchne. Uncle is tenuch.
Oh, I'm glad you came up with that.
And do you know what heretic is? Heretic. I assume you have to go like, but it's spelled the same.
Okay. There you go.
There you go. That is your Klingon religion.
Okay, how do you say uncle?
Technuch.
Well, thank you, Technuch, Doug.
Back at you. Technuch, Dan.
Let's move on.
Moving on.
Well, Uncle Doug, we have to talk about some people.
Have to?
Well, I have to. I am obliged.
We love to.
That's right. It's these are our favorite types of people.
The only ones who matter.
The only ones who matter. These are non-Klingons, I assume, who have given us money, who have pledged to donate a little bit of coin every show that we do. They keep us hot and running, and maybe we'll eventually call Mark back unto us. So
you can't have us both.
But we can. That's what's great. Sometimes, anyway. So super big thanks to Suzanne, to Sarah Talk Podcast. I guess that's a podcast. Go and check it out. To Joe and to Sam. All of you guys are the greatest,
the best
people. This is currently this particular podcast's only stream of revenue. It's the only way that we can afford to do any of this stuff. So if you, ladies and gentlemen, would like to be a part of it, you just by signing up and giving us as little as you want per episode,
or as much
as you want. Go heavy,
go big,
go hard. Show us what you're capable of.
Lean into it.
We impress us.
Yeah,
we will be impressed. But for as little as $1 an episode, you'll get access to an ad-free version. If ever we run ads, it's guaranteed to be ad-free on Patreon. You'll get an early version of the show, so you get to listen to it before all the other unwashed masses, and basically you get to know that you're one of the best people in the world.
Yeah.
So who doesn't want that?
Confirmation.
It's right there for you. So thank you guys so much for all of your willingness to donate. It is keeping us alive, putting food on our faces, and we love you for it. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Well, Uncle Doug,
Uncle Dan,
when I was doing the research for the Satan thing that I did earlier, I went down a whole bunch of rabbit holes, but what I really landed on was that there's a necessity for those of us who have left religion.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just give up on sort of dogma and concepts and like the idea of a God. You don't just give up on God when you let go of religion. You give up on Satan too.
Right. You must.
And maybe that's even harder than letting go of God for some people.
Yeah.
Because Satan's the one that seems to have more sort of direct influence in your life if you were raised in part the way you and I were, or the way a lot of very fundamentalist evangelical types are raised.
I think that goes to. I agree completely, and I think it's partly because the motivations or tactics of God are very inscrutable. They're hard to know.
Yeah.
They're mysterious. They're occasional, but the motives of Satan are clear.
Right.
And his tactics are clear, and his effect in your life is clear.
Which is just to fuck you up.
Just to mess with you.
Which is amazing. And he is this... I don't know. So let's talk about how to get rid of Satan. Now, talk to me a little bit about who Satan was to you when you were a believer. Maybe as a child, maybe as an older believer. Who was that person?
Well, as we mentioned earlier in the show, in the Mormon dogma, Satan is, like all deities, is a man.
Yeah,
he's a man of flesh and blood, that would look a lot like us if we saw him.
Yeah,
and so once I was old enough to conceptualize anything about religion. God was certainly, human-like, but exalted and distant, but Satan was real, and he was a guy, and he knew who I was, and he wanted to mess with me. You know, like it was, knowing that you have an enemy, someone who doesn't like you, but who's powerful beyond imagination.
That's kind of a messed up thing right there to tell a kid.
I agree completely.
You have an enemy.
Yeah.
You're 8. You have an enemy.
Yeah.
Who's trying to fuck with your entire forever.
He knows your name. He knows your weaknesses.
He knows where you live.
He doesn't sleep.
And every now and then he tickles your cock and your bum, and then you feel like you have to do a thing, and he ruins your life.
Yep. And from the wellspring of Satan is obviously in religion where all guilt comes from.
Yeah.
Right? He is the constant malevolency that you must live with, that if you occasionally stray into, that is where your guilt resides.
It's amazing. When I was a kid, I was, really quite young. I couldn't tell you how young I was, but, 8 or below. And I went over to my friend Brian's house. He lived in the neighborhood. And I saw his bike, and I took it.
I thought this story was going in a different direction.
Nope.
Right.
His bicycle.
Okay.
And I took it.
Yeah.
And I rode it around the block. That was it. And then I brought it back to his house, and he was there as I was pulling up, and I was like, I literally said, "The devil made me do it."
No way.
This was my excuse. But here's the thing. I don't know why I did it. When I was then, I had no idea why I did it.
Right.
So that was as plausible an explanation as anything to me. Because the devil makes so much sense when you see how fucked up people are.
Right.
And I don't mean fucked up in the I'm not talking about people who have mental illness or whatever. I'm talking about everyday average people, you and me. Sometimes we know we shouldn't do a thing.
Right.
Even as grown people with strong moral compasses, every now and then you just fucking do the wrong thing.
And that's where guilt comes into play as a positive force. Guilt can, if you do something bad, you call someone a name, you know what I mean? Like you see the effect it has on somebody and you feel guilty. That is a positive. That's a good thing. And the danger that Satan represents is the corruption of guilt. And the misapplication of guilt to things that don't matter. It was good that you saw your friend and you realized, like, oh, I took something that wasn't his.
That wasn't mine, yeah.
It wasn't yours. And you felt like, oh, shit, I've got to cover for myself because I did something wrong.
Right.
And Satan's the perfect cover.
And I felt terrible. Here's the thing. I'm not sure I'm going to go with you on this whole guilt is good thing.
Oh.
Because I think a sense of responsibility is good.
Sure.
I feel like guilt is kind of like shoveling smoke. Because a person can just sit there in their feelings of guilt and still not take responsibility, still not do anything with it.
That's a fair point.
And so I don't, because fuck guilt. I don't like shame. I don't like guilt. I don't like any of those things. I like responsibility though.
Right.
And I like sort of taking stock of oneself and owning the shit that you've done and making it right in whatever way you can figure out to do. But maybe we're talking about the same thing.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Just using different words.
Yeah, I think it's when I say the misapplication of guilt, I mean for like masturbation.
Right.
Or, having an impure thought about someone that you are attracted to.
Oh my God. Can I just tell you that to this day, there is something in me, though I have cognated the shit out of this, that still doesn't feel okay about masturbating. Most of me is great about it. And Lord knows I do plenty of it.
Right.
But there's something in me that still feels bad.
Right.
What the fuck?
What the actual fuck?
Honestly, we as humans have enough shit going on. We don't need to be made to feel bad about something as stupid as masturbation.
Totally.
But we do.
Yeah.
And that is a gift that keeps on giving. And I think that's part of the reason I wanted to talk about this is because you and I have long since left religion.
Yeah.
And yet religion doesn't leave us.
Right.
It's still in there. And Satan is still plaguing us, but
Right.
not in the way he used to. Like now it's not like, oh no, there's this bad guy tempting me. I think for a lot of people, and I've heard this from listeners to Thank God I'm Atheist, Satan's still there. They're still afraid of Satan.
Right.
Like, thankfully Mormonism isn't like Satan's going to burn your soul, hellfire and damnation stuff. Some people, it very much is, and that's very, very terrifying. And then they leave the religion, but this shadow of this scary, scary beast that they've believed in since they were children, that's been pounded into their heads,
Right.
still there.
See, maybe that's the fundamental danger of it, is that it's probably evolutionary that we fear danger, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you always, as a child, you were always, it was pretty easy to leave behind the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus, but it took a lot longer to leave behind the clown under your bed or the monster in your closet.
Right.
And that's probably, that makes sense to a certain degree. You should, every time the grass rustles when you're walking past it, you should assume there's a predator there.
Right.
Because if there's not, no problem. But if there is, you might survive it.
Right. And that's kind of how we're genetically programmed.
Exactly. So to take that fear that is natural and put something unnatural in there,
attach it to
a mythical being, is dangerous and damaging
and mean.
It's
That's just
really mean.
Fucking mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think it's meant to be mean. Like I don't think my parents were doing it to be mean. They didn't even talk about Satan. How did it get in?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so present in the zeitgeist of Mormonism, of Christianity, of whatever,
Right.
that it's just there. Like,
But
then these evangelicals down in the South have these hell houses or whatever. Like literally, ladies and gentlemen, nieces and nephews out there in listener land, if you still have Satan issues, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like forgive yourself, because this shit is deep, and the tendrils of the Satan belief run much deeper than those of God belief.
Well, and let's you mentioned that not everyone's doing it in a mean-spirited way.
Sure.
And surely that's true. But there are many who are.
That's true.
And the Catholic Church's buggery problem was perpetuated over if not hundreds of years, then at least decades, because the church the priests would use the fear of sin, guilt, and Satan to keep these kids quiet.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to a million different situations that religious people have done terrible things and used, the devil to keep people quiet.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what we're talking about is the greatest mechanism of control that any religion has over their adherents.
Right. Not God, but the devil.
It's not God.
Yeah.
Like literally saying nice things keeps 0 people in a pew.
Don't tell anybody and you'll get blessings. Doesn't get people to stay quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
But what keeps people coming back week after week is you're bad.
Right.
You're still doing bad things because this Satan person is going to get you, and I'm the only one who can save you.
Yep.
It's a really messed up system.
It is and it like all kind of habits or cultural memes that we've developed, it clearly developed as a system of control because it's so effective.
Yeah.
And every religion has a form of it because it's so effective.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
You look at it, it's kind of amazing. I've looked at myself in my 20s, in my teens. I mean, I left the Mormonism officially around 19 or 20, but well into my 20s, I hadn't processed a lot of it, and it was still very, very present for me. Well, I mean, I didn't start really drinking until my late 20s, early 30s, and I had no issue with it other than it had just been drummed into my mind that it wasn't okay, and I never thought about it. And I think that's part of the key for me. And I'm going to ask you about what keys you might have for getting rid of this stuff. But for me, I had to go through piece by piece everything like I had to catch myself, which is tricky because it's very subtle. It's all in sort of the back of your mind. All of these phobias that have been built into you by your religion. But you have to go piece by piece, and you have to look at it. You have to look directly at it and say, wait, seriously, is playing with my penis, my own body, is that bad? No, I don't think it's bad. Well, why am I feeling bad? And you have to like go through some serious thought before you're going to get anywhere near being okay with any of this stuff. At least it was for me. I was a very serious believer, though.
Yeah.
And
As
so
was I. Yeah.
And so, yeah, you and I are the same in that way. I think a lot of people, like, I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, was Satan real for you? And she was like, well, it was a concept.
Yeah.
And I was like, were you afraid of Satan? Well, I mean, it was supposed, but she wasn't a serious believer in any of it. She just sort of had this, it's what you do sort of belief.
Yeah.
But I had a take it to heart belief. And I think when that happens, boy, getting rid of this stuff, I had to go piece by piece. I had to go through each little thing. Like, is drinking a sin? Well, I mean, I didn't think that drinking was a sin, but I hadn't looked at it yet.
Right.
I hadn't sat down with myself and gone, why are you not drinking?
Right.
Oh, is it because you actually still have some of the vestiges of this old belief coursing in you somewhere? And I had to like, find that little tendril of belief and like draw it out of myself.
Yep.
It's hard.
It's hard, and it's hard too because as you go through that process on a personal level, because it's such a personal journey to leave religion.
Yeah.
And your hang-ups will be sex and masturbation, alcohol, free thought, not going to church on Sundays, all of these obstacles. Mm-hmm. But you are progressing down that path yourself while you're probably diverging from friends and family.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guilt that I faced, that was Satan-driven guilt when I'd left was, I still had family who were Mormons. So I still had cousins, nieces, nephews, and friends who were coming home from their missions or had kids that were getting blessed or baptized.
Right.
And I went from being, there every Sunday to there very seldom and not stepping into the rituals like I used to when I was an active religious person. So you're not only stepping away from the chasm between you and your friends and family as you kind of overcome these stupid hang-ups.
Yeah.
It broadens so quickly, and that was the hardest part for me was being public about my, I wouldn't feel guilty anymore about having a drink. When I started drinking, I loved it. I realized that there were lines you could cross, and I wish I'd been more well-educated.
Right.
But I was finding my way. But then I would go over to my parents' house for Thanksgiving dinner. And the one time I brought a bottle of wine and kind of put it in their face, it was the thing. And it ruined dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I felt terrible and I felt guilty. And I was just like, so it's a struggle to kind of, like you said, pull those tendrils out of your own brain. But then how do you face your friends and family? And it's a personal journey.
Especially knowing that they believe Satan fucking got you.
Exactly. You know what they think about you because you used to think that about other people.
Right. Again, Satan's actually trying to fuck with you through them.
And the pity and the sorrow they feel in their face, they demonstrate in their faces.
Oh my God.
You're like, oh God, I used to look that way at my friends when I found out they would drink. When I found out
that is a delightful moment when you realize what a prick you were.
Totally.
As a believer, and you go, oh shit, I said that to somebody else.
I judged a girl who I found out had crossed a line with a boyfriend or something like that. And it's just like, oh, and you feel guilty about that.
Yep. That's the thing where, like, yeah, there are a few people that I should probably, like, track them down and be like, hey, guess what? I was a jerk to you.
I have done that.
I thought I was being nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've done that to I was a holier-than-thou prick in high school. Mm-hmm. And I had friends who didn't follow that path, and I was less than good to them.
Yeah.
And over time, I've, Facebook, we all went through that spasm when Facebook came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. You were drinking in high school, and I treated you like shit and judged you, and I feel really badly about that. And they're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Let's get a drink.
Yeah, exactly. And that's nice. You get a new drinking buddy.
Yep.
Everything's great. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot more to this conversation. This is a long term thing. Maybe we'll bring Paige in on it at some point. But I do want to open this up to our listeners because if you guys, Doug and I have our own experiences with Satan and with sort of extracting Satan from our experience of life. Mm-hmm. But you guys have had your own thing, and so we'd love to hear from you. You can write to us, howto@howtoheretic.com, or tweet at Mark, which won't do any good because he's buried right now. The Canadians have him, and I don't think they're giving him back.
Let's hope. One can dream.
Yeah. But write into us, or go to the Facebook page and send me a message on the How to Heretic Facebook page. We just want to hear where you guys are coming from with your experience of Satan, because it's a real. The more I think about it, the more I think that's the real experience of most religions. Yeah. Is the enemy, the fear of hell. This fake enemy, rather than the desire for heaven. And how fucked up is it that you have a scapegoat to blame all this bad shit on, but you don't get to blame him. No, you have to blame yourself. Right. But there's somebody actively trying to make you fuck up all the time. Right. It's the worst. And how hard would it be to be Satan? You have 3.5 billion years of evolution on your side, trying to get some 14-year-old kid to masturbate. Yeah, it's easy. I'm going to win that one 10 times out of 10. Every single time. Yeah. Let me tell you, except with your brother, who for whatever reason didn't masturbate as a young person, that blows my mind. Yeah. Nieces and nephews, friends and family. I'm just going to testify. There's no Satan, man. There's nobody bad out there. Amen, brother. There are bad people. And there's not even bad people. You know, there are people who do bad things. Correct. And that's everybody. Right. And the best you can do is try to do fewer and fewer of those bad things and make amends when you fuck up. I said this to you earlier when we were chatting. It's empowering to me. It was always empowering to let go of this perfect being that I was trying to aspire to, and let go of this perfect malevolency that I was trying to run from, and realize that I am, for good or for ill, however sloppy I am at it, I am the master of my own fate to a certain degree. Yeah. Certainly more than I thought I was as a religious person. It's all your fault, and you get to take all the credit. When I do something great, I take credit. When I fuck up, I got to fix it. And we all do it. Yep. And you know what? And literally, it's just that's all there is. Nobody's trying to fuck with you. Nobody's trying to ruin your life. Nobody's trying to take you to hell. No. So go out there and enjoy your lives. And maybe we'll just leave it at that. Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Goodbye. Well, friends, that's it for this week's show. Hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com, and tell us all about your devil. Or leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOWTO. That's 903-884-6986. Also Twitter. Yeah, go bug Mark. Go harass Mark. For not being here. Tell him your Satan stories. That's at howtoheretic, I believe. Hey, thanks to all of our patrons once more. You keep us breathing, and it's lovely. And thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show. And thank you, dear friends, for tuning in. We sure do appreciate it. Bye, friends. #NoMoreMark.